that
it's Star Wars nostalgia, mate. That's what that is.
It's not. Oh my God, Mitch! Shut up. Hello there, and welcome back to Pro and Noob on the Mitch 692 channel. I am your host for this season, Jarod Bachman Stubbs, and joining me is the guy who actually owns the channel, Mitch 692.
Jarod. Whatever the kids say these days.
You're doing the me thing where I just go, yeah, whenever I get introduced. But yeah, we are here. Mitch has now watched volume 1 of the 2D Tartakovsky Star Wars Clone Wars micro series.
I was going to say micro series.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. 3 minutes.
Imagine having a micro series. Like.
I know. It's like you made the joke. You can just put all these episodes on TikTok. Your YouTube shorts.
And I'm going to stand by it. They absolutely should have done. That would have worked far better than this.
Oh, okay. So you did not enjoy...
That's not a precursor to my enjoyment of this series.
Okay.
There is one specific bit. I'm going to jump forward on my notes, my little novel, if I can find it again. But Yoda says when they're going to Ilum, right?
Yeah.
And Yoda, within the span of 6 seconds, says, "To Ilum we must go," twice. Because it's clearly the end of an episode, then the start of an episode. And it's just bang, bang. It's like, no. Maybe could have edited some bits out.
So it's really funny. I noticed at the very beginning, you can there are some instances where you can tell like the episode ended and the episode began, and there are others that are a lot more seamless. Like a lot of the battle on Munilinst is very seamless, but the very end of what is clearly the first chapter, as you know, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Yoda go before Chancellor Palpatine, and they have their conversation about, you'll lead the ground forces, you'll lead the forces in space. And then Anakin takes off in his Jedi starfighter, and he's like saying goodbye to Padme. And then he flies out, and the music is swelling because it's like the same exact music from the end of Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
With the Imperial March, and going into the da 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 da, and it's very brief, but as they smash cut to Obi-Wan debriefing the ARC troopers going into the Battle of Munilinst, you hear for a split second that for a brief moment, it's just a little bit of that music that I was like, oh, like is a little bit of a sloppy cut. But
I was like, for most of it, as you said, like you can't really tell, but it's just that Yoda bit really stuck out.
Where he keeps saying, "To Ilum we must go."
Yeah, it's like Ilum, and I was like, isn't that the thing from Force Fallen Order? I was like, no, it is. And 6 seconds later, it's like to Ilum, and it shows you. It's like, oh, I was right.
Yeah. No, Ilum is where
Ilum now.
Ilum is the main Jedi temple that has the lightsaber crystals that the Jedi use for their lightsabers, which is so crazy. Like watching this, and I'm like in the back of my mind, I like keep reminding myself of like this is not that. Where there are like certain creative choices that are made in 2003 that, even though in some places they do line up with the current canon and like explanation type stuff, that there are like things that are drastically different. Like there was a long time where Kyber crystal did not mean lightsaber focusing crystal, where there were a bunch of different types of focusing crystal. Sometimes Kyber crystal was a term that was used. Other times it was like a specific force relic, but like it's not just a Kyber crystal. Like now we were just saying Kyber crystal. But yeah.
Have they ever actually landed on a reason for the colors? I know there was that one thing before about like the different emotions or whatever.
So
I know that went away, and I can't remember if they ever brought anything back again or if they changed it.
The color explanations, it's one of those like gateway drugs to a lot of like bad Star Wars like lore explanation. Because in Knights of the Old Republic, you got to choose your lightsaber color based on a role, like an RPG, like archetype role. And it was like the Jedi Guardian was blue, the Jedi Consular was green, the Jedi Sentinel was yellow. And a lot of people took that as like a hard and fast truth. That Jedi Guardians carry blue lightsabers, Jedi Consulars carry green, Jedi Sentinels carry yellow, and and purple means that you use the dark side and the light side. It's none of that. No, none of that.
I mean, red and blue do make purple. So.
You're right, and that is the critical analysis beginning and end point for a lot of people. Is that purple is red and blue, but no. Legends and canon is very similar. There's just like a step missing from the Legends version of it, where like a Jedi Padawan would go into the cave on Ilum and they would like let the Force guide them to a crystal.
Yeah.
And the crystal would already have its color, but it was still like the Force acting through that Jedi and through the crystal to bring them together. Like that crystal was meant to be yours.
Yeah.
And that you like resonated with it within the Force. In canon, it's basically the same, only the crystal is blank, and upon meditation with that crystal for the first time, it will take its color.
Fair enough.
And then, and again, you look, there's a lot of characters where like that first crystal meditation had different outcomes. Ezra Bridger in Rebels, first crystal is blue. Once he has to replace his lightsaber after Vader destroys it on Malachor, it's green now. There's never been like a hard and fast explanation for the colors.
No, that's fair.
But yeah,
which is odd to me though. All of Star Wars has to be fucking micro explained, yet we don't explain this one thing.
It's just kind of a lottery.
It's just, I don't know if I buy that.
It's just kind of a roll of the dice, and that's why some people end up with rarer colors. We
it's
got
just
like
heavily weighted to blue, green, or no, blue and green.
Yeah, blue and green with like like a little bit more purple and then like even less yellow. But
how many people have purple?
In canon, at least 3. There are at least
how many people in canon
named,
have yellow?
have yellow. A few. There's quite a few. I can't think of everybody off the top of my head. I know that one of the characters from the Phase 2 High Republic books, I can't remember his name. He had a yellow lightsaber. Obviously Rey. Obviously Jarod in the Acolyte. Torben in the Acolyte also had yellow. There's a lot of characters in the High Republic that have yellow. There's also a lot of characters in the High Republic that have purple. I just can't remember all of their names. Like the ones off the top of my head for purple, obviously Mace Windu, Vernestra Rowe, and Ty Yorick are the ones that come to mind immediately. And then, like I said, for yellow, Rey, Jarod, Torben. Luke at one point has a yellow lightsaber in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi in canon.
Oh, is that in canon? Didn't he also have that in Legends?
I don't think he had a yellow lightsaber in Legends. But Luke also just kind of like picked up a lot of lightsabers as he went in Legends. Like he also had like a red bladed Shoto at one point in Legends.
Yeah.
That he only used to deal with Dark Lady Lumaya, because I guess using a Shoto is a cheat code to circumvent a light whip for whatever reason. But
it's Star Wars, who cares, right?
I care a lot.
Anyway. My first note, because I want to bring this back to what we were talking about in the last episode. I almost said yesterday, but that's breaking the fourth wall. We're talking about art styles. Right. And this isn't a dig at anyone or anything, but it made me chuckle. Because me and friend of the show, Mick, who's in the CBC Discord as well, I said back the other day, like watching the Owl House, right? Because he loves that thing.
Yeah, I've heard very good things about Owl House. I've never watched it.
Owl House. And I was like, there's something about like modern Western animation that really puts me off. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And he just came out of the blue and went, is it because it's round? It's like, you know what? I think it might be. Everything's very round. And then you come to this. And
so
it
angular.
sticks out like a no.
No?
No, there's a lot of curves. A lot of curves that go to points and then curves down again. Like I think Dooku's shoulders do this.
Yeah, I noticed. I never realized that Dooku almost has like a Dracula cape.
Yeah, it's literally
like the shoulder
the
points.
The point of two circles meeting like that. And I was like, motherfucker, I cannot unsee it now. Like everything's been ruined for me. That's round. Just can't look away from it. And you see Sidious when they're talking about sending Anakin, but Obi-Wan and Yoda are like, he's not ready, and his shoulders are just like fucking this.
Yeah,
like, there's a lot of circles in this. There's a lot of angles. You are right. Very few straight lines, but
yeah,
everything is curved. And I'm like, I cannot unsee it. Anyway, I just want to bring that up because it really stuck out to me. So
that's funny. That's funny. I like that.
One thing that else stuck out to me is how. Did you say yesterday this is the same Obi-Wan voice as that's kind of
2008 like Clone Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah, James Arnold Taylor.
He says Qui-Gon really strange here.
Master Qui-Gon.
He like emphasizes the hyphen and the gon part. I'm just like, I've never heard it pronounced like that.
Yeah.
Like, what a Qui-Gon. It's just like, who are you? Go away. You're not my Obi-Wan.
It's also one of the few times we ever in any Star Wars media, especially for a franchise that is so dedicated to like inner turmoil. It is one of the few times we ever get the character isn't speaking, but we're literally hearing their internal monologue.
Yeah.
That I noticed that watching this today, where I was like, that's one of the few times that like you get that like echoey kind of like muffled out, like, here's what I'm thinking in my head, and it's all echoey in my head because it's in my head. I'm like, Master, I don't think even Master Qui-Gon could have prepared a Jedi for this. I was like, that you never see that in Star Wars. That is not a thing Star Wars does.
No, it's kind of weird because I think it's anime. I'm so used to hearing monologues, like inner monologues.
Yeah.
And you watch something that's how you just has like the one, and you're like, huh? This is not what you do specifically.
Yeah, this is not your thing.
Like, get out of here. But what was the budget like on this?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Interesting. It's interesting.
I normally don't really care about that kind of thing. Like the only time you really hear me talking about budget and stuff is like doing like movie news on TNAP when it's like part of the conversation, but that's not something I normally like take care to notice, especially with like older stuff that I'm just like, oh, like I love this thing for these reasons. And
I was just curious because there were some parts where you can tell it's using it in a different way to the rest of it, and there's some parts where it really stands out that they're either just trying to get through this one bit to save like the budget for something else, and it's just I couldn't figure out if it was intentionally like that, if it was actually like a budget thing, but
allegedly.
Because I assume there must have been money behind it, right? It's the first big like Star Wars animated thing. Well, second animated thing.
I mean, you know, obviously there was like droids and the Ewok stuff, but I'm trying to see. Because everything, it's only giving me stuff for like the 2008 Clone Wars.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's also, I really that.
You won't know this, but it's just something I want to know because I'm certain there's a Final Fantasy VII reference quite early on in here. Because the clones like running up a big gun, like a big gun cannon attached to a tower, and it's like the Shinra building, and I'm like, is this actually a 7 reference or is this just something else, like a coincidence?
I'm not sure. I do love that bit where they're like taking out the anti-aircraft gun on Munilist.
Because there's literally a shot. I think the first time you see them on the barrel of it, and it's identical to when Tifa and Scarlet are on the Canon 7.
Well, there's another really specific reference in this that I love, and it's in the Mace Windu Battle of Dantooine stuff.
You mean Mace Windu's one bit in this part?
Yeah. Yeah, the stuff on Dantooine, yeah. is the end of it, that little farm boy, when he hands him the canteen and then Mace Windu drinks it and he gives it back to him, then he like force jumps back into the fray. That is a direct reference and homage to an iconic Coca-Cola commercial with legendary Steelers football player Mean Joe Green, where like Joe like came into the tunnel and he was like all fucked off and tired, and a little kid gives him a Coca-Cola, and this big imposing dude like takes a sip and he like smiles at the kid. The kid smiles back at him, and then he gets back out there to play.
I can see it,
but it's like a shot for shot recreation, only it's Mace motherfucking Windu. And
there's an anime character in this. I was very surprised. Like this obviously it's very Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
The whole thing. I'm just like, this is like literally an anime scene. Animu Windu, I tell you.
Anime Windu. I told Taylor, because she's like watched like the first half of it. Like she like the one time we tried to watch it, she fell asleep like right before the Dantooine stuff. Just because she was tired, not because she was bored with it. And I was like, hey, get in here. Like the Mace Windu part I always talk about is about to happen. And her jaw was in her lap for that entire fight.
It's a good fight. It's very un-Star Wars, that fight. Like, why is he just boxing everything?
Why is he just fully throwing haymakers through Durasteel like it's nothing?
Why is no one shooting at him either? It's a very one-sided fight. Like, these droids that dumb.
I think it's meant to show that that's how fast Mace is moving.
I mean,
like he's moving that fast that like we're perceiving it as like it's like 5 seconds a droid of him like just again throwing haymaker and haymaker through the droids, but like to the kid watching above, he's just watching this blur as like all of the droids are falling apart.
Yeah, that's fair. I just watched it going like, why are none of them taking a shot? Just standing there like.
It's also my all-time favorite Mace Windu outfit. Like, I'm not a figure guy, but I really
he's wearing the gauntlets, right? He's got the
gauntlets and kind of like a capier cloak than he normally has on, with like the shoulder plate, chest plate. And again, I'm not a figure guy, but they do have a figure of Mace in like a Black Series figure of Mace from Tartakovsky Clone Wars, and I really do want that one. They also did one of the General Grievous in this art style as well.
Just gonna look something up quickly because I'm not sure what the Hot Toys one was.
Mace, that was Clone Wars.
They did do clone. They've done a couple actually. Here's one where he's got the gauntlets on.
Well, yeah, but I think that's the Clone Wars gauntlets, where it's just like the white clone trooper style gauntlets with like the Jedi symbol embossed on it.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
I would say I don't think they did a hot toy of the Tartakovsky outfit, because if they did that, that's another one on my list. But
so he hasn't got any branding on it, so I can't actually. Oh, I think you're right though. I don't think it's actually that one. I just know they've made a couple of him recently. It's just like, is that actually the same one?
Well, I think they did one, and then like the special edition of it. Like they did one that was like there was like Attack of the Clones, because they did like Attack of the Clones, Anakin, Mace, and I think maybe Jango Fett, and then like the special edition of the Mace Windu one came with the Clone Wars accessories with the gauntlets and stuff.
Mace Windu needs more stuff.
Oh, I 100% agree. He has a new book out. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but there's a new.
I mean, he says something. No.
Yeah, he's a novel. He's had a couple comics in the last couple years too. That I've heard good things about.
Anakin's voice actor here is horrendous.
You don't like Matt Lucas?
He is fucking awful. I don't know how you can be a squeaker and monotone like depression at the same time. He's done it.
Oh, I love this Anakin voice. I really do love it.
Horrendous. The second he starts talking, I just like bunny nose. No, that was not good for the ears.
So, have you played the Revenge of the Sith tie-in game?
I think I did when it came out.
So this is
I
a
don't know.
ongoing joke on Teen App. He also does the voice for Anakin in that game, and
Oof.
he has such a distinctive death yell that is so funny. Because when you die as Anakin in that game, all you hear is just like as he's dying. And
at least it wasn't the shout he did after the Ventress fight. That was. I don't like saying the word cringy, but that was cringy as fuck. Like, this man just standing there at a blood moon, like, like, shut up, like, please.
Oh, that shit's
I'm going to be honest. Both Anakin, like, I like Obi-Wan's voice actor, but I don't like this interpretation of Obi-Wan.
Okay,
it's a bit more just pissed off at the world.
Obi-Wan's a little bit too much of a hard ass in this.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
I got that as well. I was like sitting there, especially because like obviously like I'm always like reading or listening to something Star Wars, and
shock.
No, it's just there's something like Obi-Wan's too much of a hard ass here, and I think that like I think Obi-Wan is another character who I think the Disney era has been kind to. Because I think the people who have written Obi-Wan understand him. And I don't think like hard ass Obi-Wan works. I think like in volume 2, we get quite a few Obi-Wan being like the sagely teacher moments.
Yeah. Thank God.
You know,
because this is like, I can see why Anakin was like, you know what, fuck you. No.
Yeah. And that's the shit I don't like with how when Obi-Wan is written as like too paternalistic. You know, like Obi-Wan needs to have a level of like, Anakin, I'm begging you to just listen to me for 5 fucking minutes. Like that works. And we get a lot of that in canon and in Legends. But when it turns into Obi-Wan just being openly antagonistic with Anakin,
it's
like
no.
It is weird. And it doesn't feel true to the character. Because like even in Attack of the Clones, like Obi-Wan has to chin check Anakin. Yeah. When Anakin's like, oh, we'll investigate whoever tried to kill you. And Obi-Wan's like, no, we're here to protect her, not launch an investigation. We are not here to investigate the assassination attempt. We are here to protect her from the next one. And he has that moment where he's like, we are not going to exceed our mandate, my young Padawan learner. And it's like, he chin checks Anakin, he puts him in his place, but he's not a fucking lunatic about it. And then later that day in Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan is very tender with Anakin, where he's like, hey, like, I can sense something's bothering you. Like, you know, where's your head at? Are you okay? Like, that is the nature of their relationship. And Anakin is the rebellious one because, you know, Obi-Wan is on paper, he's supposed to be his older brother who's forced to act like his father. And their relationship does not become as robust until they are equals in the eyes of the Order. It's one of the things, you know, I was watching some videos leading up to doing the season of Pro and Noob. And I found this one channel that does like a lot of like Legends deep dives, and I can't remember the name of the channel. I think it's Manda Lore.
I think I've seen that channel going around, yeah.
And you know, it doesn't seem like the guy has a lot of favorable opinions about the Disney era, but he's also not being a fucking tool about it either.
Yeah.
And he takes umbrage with the 2008 Clone Wars and how at the beginning of the war, Anakin is knighted and Obi-Wan is rises to the rank of master, like immediately. And in Legends, like as we see here, like Anakin is still a Padawan. Anakin no longer being a Padawan is a big deal in Volume 2. Like him being knighted is a big moment. And it was one of those things that like I think the Clone Wars as an era and as a story plays better when Obi-Wan and Anakin can relate to each other much easier once the student master barrier is lifted. Yeah. And Obi-Wan is still a mentor figure to Anakin, but in a less official role and in a situation where I think Anakin learns more from Obi-Wan once Anakin is a knight. But all of that to say, Obi-Wan is a little bit too much of a hard ass in this. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Just straight off the bat, it's so contradictory to literally everything else I've seen of Obi-Wan. It's just like, who is this man? Why actually are you here? The Kit Fisto stuff, I think needed a bit more.
You could do more of that.
Underwater saber go burr. Even though, is that just how lightsabers act underwater? Because it's all like
the like unstable look to it.
Yeah, is that just a thing, or is that just him?
That was an artistic decision, I think, for this show. I remember watching some of the behind the scenes stuff on the DVD for this as a kid, and Genndy Tartakovsky specifically being like, I'm so excited to be the first person to be like, this is what a lightsaber looks like underwater. I don't think any other piece of Star Wars media has held fast to that. I know in the Clone Wars there is a Battle of Mon Calamari arc.
Yeah.
Where Anakin, Ahsoka, and Kit Fisto are all fighting underwater. And at no point are their lightsabers doing the blah, 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 blah thing. But it looks cool as hell here. And I love...
I'll say, to be honest, it should be a thing. That should be standard. That? It should be standard. It just looks cool. Right. So.
See, I have less opinions about underwater lightsabers, and I have more opinions about how I wish every time lightsabers were in the rain, there was a dramatic steaming sizzle.
100%, yeah.
That I'm way more invested on sizzling lightsabers in the rain than
I agree with you.
Woovy, wobbly lightsabers underwater.
But Fisto also, had me dying.
Kit's for telekinetic force bubble underwater is bad as hell. Yeah.
He's just swinging underwater and stuff, and he's missing. He hits one thing. There's a good 10-second shot, and he's just as everything's going past him, he hits one thing, and he just had me cracking up. I'm like, what? No wonder you guys lost.
He's deflecting blaster bolts.
He's not doing shit. Literally, he's just there swinging as stuff's flying past, swimming past him. And it's like,
listen, Kit's smiling all the time. He's there to vibe. Kit's there.
The one dude's smiling all the time. He's round. He is made of curves. He's the golden ratio. Is it Fibonacci spiral?
Yeah, Fibonacci Fisto. Kit Fibonacci
be a great Jedi name. But this really stuck out to me. Don't ask me why. There was I want to say it's Ventress's introduction.
In the fighting pit?
There's a monkey there with 1 million nipples, and it's running at the screen. This is a little peek into how my brain takes notes. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mitch just found his Glupshido.
I think it had green eyes and slightly whitey blue fur. But this thing has 9 nipples running at the screen. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, that's not... I didn't sign up for that.
The moment whenever Count Dooku comes to Rat Attack to find his new assassin, Eli from In a Galaxy and Epic Confrontations, he and I bond so much over what I think
technical armpits.
Not technical armpits. It is one of the funniest pieces of dialogue in all of Star Wars. I think it's the unsung funniest shit of all time, where that alien greets Dooku on Rat Attack. And he's he's just all the he's like, Uya kapasho koya boya shapula ya boya Count Dooku. And Dooku, there's a pregnant pause, and then Count Dooku just goes, indeed. And it's so fun. It's so fucking funny.
I was too distracted by the monkey nips to even
the 8,000 monkey nipples. Oh, Count Dooku. Indeed.
Because it's literally, you get the shot of the nipples and then it's straight into tentacle armpits. I'm like, who? What's who animated? There's some weird hentai stuff going on here. But,
but it's funny that every other creature is again, it's monkey nipples with tentacle armpits, and then immediately after that, it's oh, there's a Gamorrean. Oh, there's a Nikto. It's here's this hentai nightmare immediately followed by everybody in Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
Just Gamorreans and Niktos, and there is a guy who just straight up looks like the Rancor tamer from Return of the Jedi, who's holding his own with this terrifying eel man with twin scythe daggers and shit.
Speaking of shit, that's really cool. I didn't expect it, even though I'm pretty certain I've seen a clip of it before. Is the jousting stuff?
Oh yeah,
when the speed is, it's just punk. What's his name? Dirge.
He
They don't
is.
actually name him here, do they?
I don't think they ever speak his name in the show.
No.
Dirge and Ventress both like kind of. I'm not 100% certain on the timeline. They more than likely showed up in the Star Wars Republic comics before this show. But both of them show up here, and they're both primary antagonists in the Republic comics. Yeah, like Dirge, obviously, like their characterization and their design could not be more different. But Dirge in Legends kind of fills the same position that Cad Bane fills. In the Clone Wars and in the canon, where he's like the Separatist Alliance kind of like go-to bounty hunter scumbag, where it's like this is a violent lunatic who will do anything for a credit.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we'll just hire him and he'll go kill countless people for us.
When was his first? Was this his first introduction, or was it just slightly before?
Dirge?
Yeah.
Again, I can't remember if he shows up in the comics before this or not. I just know that he was a mainstay in the comics, just like Ventress.
Okay, yeah, because
and
whoever designed him is massive Halo fan, because that man is a hunter from Halo. It's just like, he's literally made of worms. Like, this is very obviously a Halo.
He's the same species as Ravis from Jedi Survivor.
Oh, I forgot about him completely. That's cool.
Yeah, he's a Gen
I like Ravers.
Yeah.
One I didn't recognize. I was watching it going like, I'm certain I've seen this before.
Yeah,
but I just clicked that it's obviously a Halo reference, right? And I just left it at that. Completely forgot about Ravers.
Yeah, Ravis and Dirge are the
Jedi
same
Survivor
species.
than it does me, but I'm good.
I mean, I like the Ravis fight a lot. I know some
Ravis fight's good. Game is mid.
Game is great. Ravis fight is a lot of fun. Surprisingly, especially considering that like most
of the game is broken, yeah.
Most games I am like a hit 'em hard and hit 'em fast type of player. That said, I do not like using the crossguard in Jedi Survivor.
Oh, I love that thing.
Well, Michael McCoy, DM for Ionized Bastards on the Organic Systems channel, he loves to play Jedi Survivor with the Purity perk, which means everybody does super increased damage.
Oh, he's a lunatic then.
And like the enemies and you.
No same person likes those perks. I'm sorry. That's just sorry, Michael.
Well, I mean, he also created Salvage, so we know he's not doing great. But he joked about how the Ravis fight feels like an acid trip if you fight him with the crossguard saber, because like he will kill you in one hit.
Oh yeah,
with Purity equipped. But if you land one heavy attack with the crossguard saber during that fight, you melt like 75% of his health bar.
Classic.
But
I think I used the crossguard against him actually, because my entire thing was dual blades and crossguard.
Dual blade is in like two sabers, or dual blade is in the saber staff.
I ain't using no stick.
I do twin blades and saber staff. That is my go-to.
I'm be honest, the staff can be cool. No.
It's so good for crowd control.
You don't need it. The force stuff's broken enough as it is.
I know, but I go in saber swinging.
I don't like how it moves either. Like just the actual, it doesn't click right in my brain with how it does everything. I'm like,
I can tell you why it doesn't click right, because Cal's animations go from like feeling like something Cal would do for pretty much every saber loadout to him fighting almost identically to Darth Maul with the saber staff.
I think that's it.
Like he is contorting his body like Ray Park, and it does break immersion a little bit. But I like the saber staff because I love the crowd control, and like there's some of those attacks get me out of hot shit so often.
I mean, you don't just like lift everything up and push it, like just do that and neutralize fucking everything.
No, I don't. I fight them with a lightsaber like a man.
No. Up then down and just do that like 5 times until they're dead. Just,
No, man.
You play on the hard mode. That's the really best way to do it. Just
you should watch me play Jedi Survivor. I got that dog in me.
I can't look at that game. It's ugly as fuck.
It's beautiful.
No. 12 pixels smeared across a screen going at like 5 frames an hour? No.
Only when you try to double jump dash when you land on Kobo.
No, it's not. That's the thing. That's
the only time I have that problem.
No. You have it everywhere because it's not a bug. It is baked in.
I only have that problem trying to double jump out and getting out of the stinger mantis.
You just don't see it. No. You don't notice it. No.
I'm listening. I'm just fixing my hair.
That's fine. You fix away. Go.
Anyway. What?
You never actually let go of your headset. It's just, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that.
No, I let it go. I was just holding on to it. Like the back part was against my head and I was holding
it. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You never
here.
let it go. It's just constantly.
Yeah, so I could hear you.
That made me laugh. Anyway, I've got to find where I was now. Back to Mace Windu, that the man looks older than Sam Jackson does now. Yeah. It's like, that's a choice, Paul. Why are you doing Sam Jackson like that? That's not particularly great. Also, that scene has the one Wilhelm scream. And it's the faintest Wilhelm scream I've ever heard in my life.
With like the seismic tank thing.
Mm-hmm. Which that was a bit over the top. Where the hell's that been? No. You got all this firepower and so we're going to punch the ground.
I think it was one of those situations where the Separatists went, well, if one Jedi times this shit right, we will all die. So let's just stick to infantry, I guess.
Yeah, it's fair. I said about being the most unlikable Anakin and Obi-Wan. He's just an anime character again. Right. I'm going back to kyber crystals.
Okay.
I know we've established it's not how it works. But this cave has all the crystals in the colors already.
Yeah.
And you're telling me only one Jedi picked out a purple one.
Well, that's the thing. It's the Jedi and the crystal have to choose each other. So it's like they're both like...
You're telling... So the kyber crystals are racist then? Is what I'm hearing.
Well, actually, Mitchell, in Legends, Mace Windu...
Jarod, you're supposed to push them up while looking into the light. Right.
Gling! Mace in Legends had blue first. It was his second lightsaber that he got purple.
Well, if it's racist, no wonder he got rid of it.
There were other Jedi who had purple lightsabers at the time. We just only ever
saw where are they? One. Oh, we don't see them.
Across the galaxy fighting a whole fucking war, Mitch.
How convenient. How convenient. Well.
Okay, these are the parts. Okay, these are the kinds of Star Wars conversations where you need to accept two different truths. There is overly complicated lore, and then there is a real world explanation. The overly complicated lore is that the Jedi and the crystal have to choose each other within the Force. The real world answer is Samuel L. Jackson asked George Lucas, can I have a purple lightsaber so I can point myself out to my kids during the Battle of Geonosis? And then George said, yeah, sure, why not? And then Mace Windu ended up with a purple lightsaber.
I mean, that's totally fair. Your first one's kind of no.
I mean, here's something fun. If you go back and you look at a lot of Legends comics that came out in the immediate aftermath of the Phantom Menace coming out, everybody had crazy lightsaber colors.
I mean, sure.
Like I could
not that this is
I could count at least 6 to 7 Jedi who were depicted as having red lightsabers in the early Star Wars Republic comics, like Adi Gallia, Eth Koth, Evan Peel, Asherad Het, Sherad Het, like just a shit ton of Jedi all had red lightsabers. And while Mace Windu was initially portrayed as having blue, Coyote Mundi had purple.
It bounced because he's racist. There you go. Yeah.
Christ.
It's never going to beat the allegations, Jarod. I almost called you Jordan then for whatever reason. Done the Yoda repeats the Ilum line twice, which made me laugh. Padme is just a Disney princess in this.
Yeah, she's got the big pie eyes. Yeah.
The way she's dressed in it obviously is in line with how Padme dressed in the movies and everything, but it's just like, when's the song gonna come out? Like, is she like the Snow White for droids? That was going on here.
That was some really fun. The little bit where Padme like throws her cloak out to get the stealth droids, and then followed by, "Hey, 3PO, can you get my cloak?" And then Padme
not a good friend. That was a horrendous thing to do. If this 3PO was a person, that's a crime.
Yeah, but you
droid
can
rights
fix
is what I'm
3PO.
saying. Wow, you can fix a person. Whack him in the back to tank. It solves everything.
Not everything.
I mean, most things. No, getting stabbed doesn't do anything anymore. So, I told you, Jarod. There's a reason why I'm here.
No, what pisses me off is when you say something that I know is not actually your opinion. That is the moment I get angry. Is when you say something I know you don't believe, just to antagonize
this
me.
This is the funny thing. It's not that I don't believe it. I kind of do. I just teeter on the edge of like, do I believe it? Do I not? And depending on the situation, the time of day. Whether conditions have to be just right.
Eclair.
What?
Yeah, the moral backbone of a chocolate eclair.
Yeah. Also, it's
Taylor heard me say that and said, "Oh my God, I do that too. I antagonize you." Also, Taylor wanted me to call attention to the fact that Richard, our cat, who sometimes watches TV, like sometimes he will just actually watch what's going on the television.
Oh, my dog does that. Yeah.
He was fully seated and fully paying attention to the Anakin Ventress fight, and was also enraptured for the General Grievous introduction.
Interesting.
Taylor said that Richard was very excited to see the first appearance of his mama's favorite character.
Oh.
Did you hear that?
Well, now hold on.
No, it was her from the door behind the door going, Sebulba.
Oh.
Hi guys. She's standing in the doorway holding Richard. General Grievous. That's what it's going to be for Halloween? Yeah, Taylor decided that Richard's going to go as General Grievous for Halloween. How we're going to pull that off, I'm not sure yet, but...
No.
Did you drop the cat? What the fuck? Okay.
That was really funny. You just heard her screaming and just dead. Just nothing up. It's like, is everything okay again? She like punctured her foot again? That last time?
No. Oh yeah, I forgot about that in the middle of an episode. I'll be right back. But yeah, the Ilum stuff is cool. I forgot about that beautiful monologue Luminara has with Barriss while she's building her lightsaber. That the crystal is the heart of the blade. The blade is the Jedi is the heart of the Force. Yeah. Like,
see, I couldn't believe I haven't heard that. Has that ever been said since?
Nope.
That's why
I can tell you the only other place I have seen that quoted. Everybody ready for me to get really neuro spicy on you guys? The only place I have ever seen that quoted since this show is in the strategy guide for the first Force Unleashed game.
I'd like to make it clear that it's adorable. Jarod thinks people have to be ready for him to act neurospicy, and it's not just default Jarod. No, he says that wearing a Star Wars shirt. No. Behind a Star Wars, in front of a Star Wars pizza box.
And my Revenge of the Jedi poster.
And the Revenge of the Jedi poster, yeah. It's okay, Jarod.
I fucking love Star Wars, man.
Some people with tism like frogs. There's a frog in Star Wars, so.
Which one, Turgle?
I was thinking Frog Lady from Manda, but Turgle, yeah. Turgle works. Mm-hmm.
Do you know Turgle was Invader Zim?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't realize
He's
that
the voice
until...
of Zim, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't realize it until we met. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's also in Hell of a Boss. He's also in Hell of a Boss. And I remember listening to him
I haven't
speak.
watched all of Hell of a Boss yet, but I know he's in it, yeah.
Well, Taylor loves it, and we met Brendan Rogers and the guy who plays Moxie, who's also Zim and also Turgle. And I remember, I'm like, where else do I know that name from? And when we got up to his booth to meet him, I looked down and I saw Turgle, and I was like, and that was I was like an early anniversary gift for Taylor was the Hell of a Boss autographs, but I almost went, you'll get Blitz. I want the Turgle autograph.
That's fair. No, I clocked that straight away. I'm a millennial of a certain age. Invader Zim was like my personality for about 5 years.
Never saw Invader Zim.
Oh, it's so good.
It was just before my time. It was just before my time.
So good. It's absolute trash, but it's so good. I adore that thing. No, if there every girl in school or whatever it was, I can't remember now actually, from that long ago. But there was what's the dog called? Is it Gar?
Gur.
Yeah, that was just
everybody loved Gur, even people my age, and I was like, all right, guys, let's calm down.
It's like there's a lot of Gur going around here. Right. Now we're into the band. Actually, hold on. Padme has one line, or there's one moment. Right. It's in the same spot with the whole Ilum thing.
Okay.
And I want to say it's R2. It's the droids. And they're like, there's multiple objects in that direction. Emphasis on that. Right. And they're pointing. Padme out here goes where? It's like, what's that way? I know you're a Disney princess in this very exact moment, which is unfortunate. You haven't got to act like one. No, that was just that stuck out. It's like, you're better than this, Padme.
No, she says where, because they're like there's objects approaching, and the whole point is that it's like the stealth droids. They have a cloaking device.
For sure, but still, it's just like that direction. Like they're just telling you.
Yeah, she's looking. She goes, where? Because she's like, I can't see anything because the droids are.
But she knows she can't see anything because it's not the first one she's fought.
Or maybe she's talking about Yoda and Luminara and Barriss, but even then, it's because they're still shrouded in.
It was
snow.
just dumb. It was just dumb. Natalie Portman would have done better, quite frankly. But I'm going to be honest here.
Yeah.
Right. This might be controversial. Ventress has no aura. She's got negative riz. She's maidenless. In this specific take of Ventress. This Ventress gets no hose, all right? She is awful in this. And I had my expectations set because I was told it was Azula from The Last Airbender. I'm like, what have you done? Tartakovsky, I need answers right now. It might have been 21 years ago or whatever it was.
Was it the performance, or was it just Ventress completely fell flat for you here?
Yes, is my answer to that.
Damn, really? Even though you fight on Yavin 4 with Anakin.
I mean, that might have been the one little McDonald's symbol of ketchup sauce.
Okay.
That she was in the proximity of. The ketchup's the moon, by the way. But apart
it's actually
from
the
that,
planet. The planet Yavin was the red. They're on Yavin 4.
It's a celestial body in the sky. It's a
they're on a moon. Yavin 4 is they're on the moon Yavin 4. Yavin, the planet, is a gas giant. Continue.
They're both giant spheres. Unless you're looking at a certain angle, then it's a disc.
Yeah, of course.
With 4 elephants and a turtle.
Man, so you got nothing for Asajj Ventress in this.
No, I had no time for her here. I don't know if it's because I'm used to how she is in the Clone Wars. Because I felt like they weren't. It's like Obi-Wan. It's not the same. She was two-dimensional here. I'm not entirely sure what it was. I just immediately didn't click with it. I'm like, no. It might be the voice. Could honestly, very well be the voice acting. I don't know.
I think for a lot of this show, the big like again, there's not a whole lot of big character moments.
No.
There are some more in volume 2, but I think that for the most part, like, you know, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, Yoda, like these are all characters that we have exposure to and attachment to outside of this one piece of media.
Yeah.
Where characters like Asajj Ventress don't really have that.
No.
And, you know, a lot of the antagonists of this volume require them to just be like happily evil.
Yeah. And I
with
think
Dirge,
right.
Dirge, you have like a mindless murderer bounty hunter who, like, you get like much like Cad Bane, you're here to get paid, and we don't have to worry about giving you much of a personality out of being this badass Gendai who's jousting clone troopers and lancing like entire tanks with your giant like spear or whatever. You know, with Ventress, I will agree that this might be the worst version of her simply because she never gets any time to be developed at all.
No.
This is not the Star Wars Republic comics where she plays a role similar to Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, where like she in the Republic comics that take place during the Clone Wars, like she has so many run-ins with Obi-Wan that she becomes like obsessed with killing him.
Yeah.
Where she's like, nobody can get the job done with you. I'm going to do it. I got to kill this fucking guy because he refuses to die. And you know, you have the fanaticism of, you know, trying to kill Obi-Wan and like all of her whole deal of being a fallen Jedi, you know, and then you get to the Clone Wars where you get this whole tragic backstory of, you know, she's abandoned by the Night Sisters and she feels abandoned by the Jedi, and then she is abandoned by the Sith, and then her Night Sister clan is taken away from her, and then she has to go it alone, where she gets such a complex, like there is a lot going on in the mind of Asajj Ventress in the Clone Wars. You know, she is this soldier without a nation, you know, a lot going on there. Here, she's like really into the idea of like auditioning to be a Sith.
Yeah.
And that's all she really gets is, I really want to be a Sith Lord. But like, she doesn't even understand that Count Dooku is a Sith.
No.
You know, her whole like, you know nothing of the Sith. And it's like, who the fuck do you think this guy is?
Yeah.
Like,
she wasn't like, she just wasn't it.
No, I think her fight choreography is really cool. I
mean, sure, like the action scene was probably one of the better ones in this whole first part, but
I would argue that some of the best moments of action all revolve around her. The fighting pit, her little, you know, skirmish with Count Dooku in that little apartment, and then obviously the fight with Anakin on Yavin 4. Like, all of those are some of my favorite moments, especially for me. Like, the sound design for a lot of the Force powers, I like a lot in this show. It's something that I've always been really picky about like how much sound I want the Force to make and how diegetic that even is.
Because it's like, should it even like itself make a sound? There's always been my question.
Yeah, and like when you watch the original trilogy, you know, granted, like they're using a lot less telekinesis in those movies than they do in the prequels, but like, you know, whenever Luke force pulls the lightsaber out of the ice on Hoth, it's just the sound of the lightsaber shimmying out of the snow and then into his hand, turns it on. So you don't get a whole lot of that sound effect happening, but in the prequels, they do it sometimes, but not all the time. And sometimes it's a very subtle
George Lucas.
And sometimes it's a very subtle whoosh where you can't tell if that's the Force or that's the sound of like something moving. Because like if you go back and you watch like the very beginning of the movie, when Obi-Wan force pushes battle droids and Qui-Gon force pushes battle droids, there's a very subtle whoosh. Go to all the way to the end of the movie. Whenever Darth Maul and Obi-Wan are like locked up here and then Maul force pushes Obi-Wan, there is a loud sound when Obi-Wan goes ass over tea kettle into the reactor pit. And it's something I've been inconsistent on. Like, I don't know when and like how I like it. I will say the Force sounds in this, while they are very much calling attention to themselves, I like them. Like, there's a specific sound to telekinesis in this show that I like a lot. I think part of it's because I first heard that specific, again, like sound engineering for the Force in that, pardon my hiccups, that infamous Obi-Wan game that I go to bat for all the time, with the Force jumps and Force push and whatever. But a lot of those Ventress fights have that sound, have those sound effects in it. And I think that's also something that just scratches a specific part of my brain. Because this is like the one Star Wars project where I hear all of those sound effects I like a lot.
Yeah.
The whole time.
They are pretty consistent with it. But yeah. I think it is that Ventress has nothing to do in this. She just has the one beat. That's it. There's no
go kill Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. It's like, at least I have the Clone Wars and Ventress there. So that's my redeeming on that character. Got here LeMayo Shaggy Jedi. I knew he was in this. I completely forgot until the second he shows up.
Shaggy.
Like, there's my boy. I thought that's how you said it. I just couldn't remember exactly where the apostrophe was. I'm like, I know it says somewhere. Yeah, my boy.
Shaggy.
He's a pussy in this. I'm just going to come out and say it.
He dies a horrible fucking death.
He does.
Him and that other Syrian Jedi who's not Coyote-Mundi, but like the Syrian with like the darker beard and the head wrapping, die horrible deaths. Like, again, Taylor was watching that. And again, this is a part of the Tartakovsky Clone Wars she's never seen. And, you know, after watching the Clone Wars, Grievous became one of her favorite characters. And I was like, you're about to see his first introduction and understand why a lot of people do not like modern Grievous. And
you know what? I fall exactly on there.
I'm indifferent.
The only thing I have bad to say against this Grievous, and I get why he does this one specific thing, but it's
the lightsaber in the foot.
It's the lightsaber in the foot, yeah. This man is bouncing here with a lightsaber in his foot like he's a fucking choose your fighter in Tekken or some shit like that. I'm like, what is going on? Like, he's not the Monkey King. Like, he's not Sun Wukong. What's he doing?
So a handful of things I want to talk about with the fight on Hypori. First of all, Shaggy and the other Syrian Jedi just like Shaggy, Grievous lands on him.
Yeah.
Maybe he dies on impact and he's not feeling much of that.
I'd assume he would be, yeah.
That other Syrian Jedi gets grabbed with the foot claws around the head. And just to get really sweaty here, because, and I do this a lot. Like,
do you?
Yeah. There are some deaths in Star Wars that are particularly gruesome when you stop and think about certain alien physiology. It's like I always talk about Twin Sons. When Darth Maul is finally killed in Star Wars Rebels, when Obi-Wan cuts Maul across the chest. Yes, we have the whole samurai one stroke, that clip of Sam Witwer, blah, 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 stances, whatever. It's an amazing moment. It's on the shirt I'm wearing right now. But that one little straight down through Maul's chest is the only way Obi-Wan could have ever made sure Maul was dead, because Zabraks have two hearts.
Yeah.
Time Lord style. With one ventricle tube connecting them. Obi-Wan severed the tube connecting both of Maul's hearts. That's a gruesome fucking kill. Like, down to
that's
the
quite
detail.
clean, to be honest.
It's clean, but like it's visceral when you think about like the details of that specific death. Like, he stopped both of his hearts because this guy won't fucking die. Like, this was the best way to get a kill without the very barbaric beheading, right? Syrians, and I'm assuming that other guy was a Syrian just because he had a very long head, much like Coyote-Mundi. Syrians have 2 brains and 2 hearts. Saurians
We
have a
could have
heart.
used one of them here.
Well, Saurians have a heart in like the normal spot in the chest. And the head is big because it is brain, heart, brain.
Well, that's just inefficient.
So if you look at the way Grievous kills this guy, wrapping the claw foot around the cone head. And let's get a little graphic here for a moment. Those claws probably on impact of grabbing lobotomized both brains and pierced the head heart. And then he slammed him onto the ground to break his neck. And then he threw him 30 feet into the air.
Yeah, it's kind of a sucky way to go.
This guy didn't even get a lightsaber wound. Like,
well, that would just teach their evolution not to be dumb, right?
like you could have just cut this guy's head off. Yeah. You could have just stabbed this guy in one of the hearts, because the other that brain that head heart is only to pump blood to the brains. Like, you take this heart out, it's game over anyway. So you could have just stabbed this guy. You could have just beheaded this guy. You could have done any number of things, but no, double lobotomy, like cardiac piercing, broken neck, 30 feet in the air.
Do you know what my favorite things are? What? Is when there's stuff like that in a cartoon that no one thought about. Yeah. I adore that stuff. It's like, no, this is actually far worse than you ever thought. Like, you just did it on a whim because, it's cool, right? He uses his foot to do it and everything.
He grabs him, smashes him, throws him.
So why is he going to grab his head? His head's big, all right?
His head's big, easy to grab. He slams him down, probably breaks his neck, and then throws him and Aayla Secura. Cool, whatever. But no.
Then you get the sweaty nerds.
Who's like, no, you just killed this man in the worst way you could possibly kill a Saurian.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. And another funny little bit that I just find this hilarious. So Kakruk is the one Jedi with like the big like mouth tusks, the big furry guy. Yeah. They imply that General Grievous cuts his head off. Because Kakruk goes for his hand, Grievous like throws the lightsaber up to evade, catches it, slashes Kakruk across the chest, and then we see Grievous draw back, and it's implied that he beheads it. Not only does Kakruk survive this fight,
classic.
Kakruk also lives all the way to the end of the known Legends timeline. He is still kicking several hundred years later for the events of Star Wars Legacy with Cade Skywalker.
It's a headless chicken, basically.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he doesn't actually get his head cut off. They imply it in this show, but like, again, so many people want to pretend that the Legends continuity was always like super cohesive. Like, in every piece of Star Wars media around this time, it all said Anakin Skywalker first fights Asajj Ventress on Yavin 4, and during that fight, Ventress nearly kills him and gives him his scar over his eye.
Yeah.
It's how it happens in the Republic comics, and it is implied in the Clone Wars movie in a deleted scene. And implied throughout the show, because the show begins where Anakin already has a scar. This show shows Ventress and Anakin fighting on Yavin 4, but he doesn't get a scar.
Doesn't get a scar. No.
We see Anakin get his scar in Volume 2, but Ventress is also implied to be dead.
Yeah,
like they heavily imply Ventress is dead. They leave the jury out on Dirge, and then they imply Grievous cuts off Kakruk's head. But Kakruk shows up again. Like throughout the Clone Wars multimedia project, Kakruk is one of those Jedi that we check in with periodically. I just think that's
absolutely the reason why Star Wars Homework was my worst nightmare for about 15 years.
You should have just called me in. I could give you the quick and dirty version of it.
You weren't alive, Jarod.
No, but I was watching the channel and correcting you guys in the comments whenever y'all got shit wrong.
Oh, like I read the comment.
Smarter than I am.
I read the comments.
I had to be the one to be like, hey, did you see on this comic book cast episode they told you guys to stop having me on the show?
No, on this channel I read them all. Don't worry. I reply to it.
Yeah.
Over there.
But how'd you feel about the Grievous fight, though? Like, as a whole, we're talking about specific moments in it, but
I really liked it, to be honest. I really like how this Grievous looks. Slightly giraffe-like, but I like.
I really like the pure white armor on Grievous.
Like, something about bad guys wearing white, it just works.
Like they give him the Revenge of the Sith like cream-colored look in Volume 2, which still looks really good in this art style. But like, I just remember I could never get my hands on it. It was always sold out. I wanted, it's actually directly below Mitch, that little vignette of Coyote Mundi fighting Grievous. That was the pose the action figure was always in. And I wanted it so badly, and I could never get my hands on it. But I just love that, like that just true white on Grievous. That was real. I really like that. It's one of those funny things because, like, again, this show is being made and developed in the early stages of Revenge of the Sith, and if you go back and you look at a lot of Revenge of the Sith concept art, Grievous is like stark white, like pristine looking, not the eggshell, not with any of like the dings and scratches on him we see in Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars.
He's factory new, right?
He's factory new. And I think it's really interesting because like you can see the way that like development of Grievous as a character progressed when you look at this show. Because when he first shows up, if you remember, like he drops down on Shaggy and then like, you know, his arms go out and he opens up.
Yeah.
And they also address something that the Clone Wars just kind of yada in 2008, where like when Grievous isn't wearing his cape that he holds the lightsabers in, he just kind of hooks them on his waist.
Yeah.
And they just kind of hang there. And maybe they're magnetized. Maybe he has little belt clips we can't see. I don't care about like navigating the minutia of that. But I really like that they take the time to show that like he has like a sliding compartment that like slides down and opens up that he then retrieves the lightsabers from.
That's a cool detail, yeah.
It's a cool detail, but they also show his chest cavity opening up, which is insane because we know as development would go on, it's, that is where his still organic vital organs are.
Yeah.
That Obi-Wan lights up like a fucking Christmas tree on Utapau.
No, that was my one thing because obviously I knew there was something with Grievous like that. There was some like inconsistency. It's just like, why? where exactly has that come from? Or was it just George being George?
I think part of it was George being George, and I think part of it was like ILM gave Tartakovsky and his team notes of like, this is like how Grievous moves. You know, like if you go back and you watch some of the making of documentaries for the prequels, George is and it's a design principle that Star Wars has always adhered to, is even though like the science of it all is silly, you can still see how things work.
Yeah.
Like it was a big thing with the ships that you do not need to open up like one of the cross-section books to look at, say, the Tanta V4, like the Rebel blockade runner from the beginning of A New Hope, to go, there's the cockpit, here are these ventral cannons, here are the thrusters, and you can, just looking at it, understand how this thing is built and how it works. Yeah. And I think that attention to detail that George was always so like fervent about is there, that they're like, this part opens up this way, this moves that way, and some of that dynamic motion for Grievous goes away the further into development we get. So like, again, like the chest cavity opening up, like maybe that was like, oh, like this is a thing it can do, but they were never super clear on what the function of that was, either on Gendy's team or on ILM's team. Well, like another example, and this is a mild spoiler for Volume 2, but it's not a big deal. George was vehement that nobody show that General Grievous has 4 arms.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. I want people's first time seeing Grievous's extra set of arms to be, you know, you fool, I was trained in your Jedi arts by Count Dooku. Like, he wanted that moment for everybody to go, oh my God, Obi-Wan's fucked, and then watch Obi-Wan piece up Grievous. He was very like, I want this to be the first time. It's just so funny. It's one of the funniest moments in all of Star Wars. And apparently George was pissed off because in Volume 2, General Grievous and Shaak Ti have a rematch on Coruscant. And Shaak Ti's holding her own, and that's the moment Grievous goes, okay, I got to do it to you. And George was like, told y'all not to, but it's not like you can reanimate it in time. So people get to see the 4 arms for the first time in the show, I guess.
Why just cut it out?
It's the end of the fight. The fight ends with Grievous and his 4 arms.
Just cut the fight out then.
Volume 2, like, in the same way that Volume 1 kind of entirely revolves around like the 2 fronts of the Battle of Munilinst. Of like, you have the ground battle with Obi-Wan leading the ARC troopers, and then you have the space battle with Anakin. Volume 2 like really hinges on the Battle of Coruscant. Only instead of there's a land front and a space front, it is the land front with Mace Windu and Yoda holding off the Separatist Alliance, and then the protect the Chancellor front of Shaak Ti and a couple of other Jedi trying to keep the Chancellor away from Grievous. And then there's a space front with Saesee Tiin where he does some of the coolest shit I've ever seen in Star Wars. But like,
I'll be the judge of that next time. So.
Oh, buddy, his outfit is you're gonna be won over just by Saesee Tiin's outfit.
We'll see.
But yeah.
All right. Well, because that was the end of the show. So that was definitely an hour. I'm not talking about this episode, but the whole thing. Not that I didn't like it. I enjoyed it to an extent, right? I think a lot of it was people. I said it in the first part, I'm certain of it, where I had that slight fear that it's been built up to be this batshit insane thing since it's come out. And obviously, what I haven't watched, I haven't known. I think it was a bit more tame, or a lot more tame than I was expecting. Just like, oh, okay. At least for this first half, it just felt like generic Star Wars.
I think here's what I think the issue is. I think that the parts that are batshit fucking crazy are the parts that everybody has seen out of context.
Possibly, yeah.
Like everybody and their mother, for the most part, if you're an online Star Wars fan, you've seen the clips of Mace Windu just white knuckling an army of super battle droids. No.
I never saw it before. No.
What happened?
I saw the Anakin Ventress fight before.
Okay.
Because people were talking about the rain sizzling on the blades. What else have I seen before? I think Grievous? I might have seen. I don't know if I've seen Grievous. No, because I've seen White Grievous before. But it might be from part 2 that I've seen. I can't remember exactly. But a little bit of Grievous. It's in the Shaggy Jedi, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain I've seen the Kit Fisto bit before.
Yeah.
Or at least part of it.
Yeah, the Kit Fisto, Mad Battle of Mon Calamari, the Mace Windu Battle of Dantooine, and then the Grievous like massacre on Hypori. Like those are the clips, and the Dirge fight. But it's mostly like Dirge with like on his speeder, not actually fighting Obi-Wan. Those ones make the rounds a lot.
Yeah. I tell you, like, I've seen the Mace window. I keep saying window. The Mace window where he lands.
Mm-hmm.
That superhero pose bit. That's the one bit of that bit I've seen. The punching, nah, didn't see any of that. And even Dirge, I think I've seen Dirge before. I just can't remember. Because
He's another character.
Like, that's the Clone Wars show. I'm just gonna keep scrolling.
I mean, he also has like been making the rounds a little bit more than normal, only because he got recanonized last year.
He did, yeah.
And he shows up in the Star Wars Marvel comics, the War of the Bounty Hunter stuff. He shows up in that story. So there was a lot of like people doing like, you know, like Dirge highlights, and most of Dirge's highlights are in comic books. So we put the only like media in motion of him, which is him fighting Obi-Wan.
Which I didn't talk about this actually. Obi-Wan does the funniest shit to me in this. Because he's a dramatic little bitch. Right? He's on that bike and he goes up the angle, up the building, and he's flying up that building on that bike. And halfway up, he just decides to jump off and push it down.
Yeah.
A completely fine speeder bike, he just destroys in the middle of a war just because he wants to jump up and flip. It's the only reason why he does that. And I'm like, what is this Obi-Wan doing? Not my Obi-Wan.
Not my Obi-Wan.
No,
my Obi-Wan knows that the Republic needs every single speeder bike it can get his hands on right now.
Yeah. Especially when you just had a fight against like 200 lancing droids and a hunter from Halo. Well, I'm certain in that fight he got destroyed. I know he destroyed at least one speeder bike in that fight. Yeah,
well, because Dirge picks one up and tries to hit Obi-Wan with it, and he just slices it to pieces. Before he goes,
I couldn't remember if they did it with what's the 1 or 2. And I'm like, is this actually a slight continuity error I've just watched here? But it was a cool fight.
You're not wrong. I caught that too. They do accidentally give Obi-Wan his speeder bike back intact.
And then he just blows up anyway. It's like, hold on, he needs that back because he needs to do the flip. And he could have just gone, I get it. It's not as cool, right? But
yeah. Like I said, Volume 2 has a lot of cool stuff in it. It has a very fun moment that I alluded to last week about my like little kid Jarod going, is that a continuity error or are they making a statement? That I'm very excited for you to see. One of my favorite moments from this show is we get to see Dooku and Grievous sparring in the next one, which Dooku has so much sauce, man.
Bless you.
Just unmitigated levels of swag for Darth Tyrannus.
Good, because the show needs it. Needs it a lot.
Plus, it is directly behind Mitch on the screen for you guys, but it also has arguably the best Obi-Wan and Anakin have ever looked.
No, I can't agree with that one. At least on this, can't agree with that one. No.
In color, the Volume 2 outfit for Anakin does the one thing I've said for years I wished the Clone Wars did, and that's give him a cape.
Do you know, I've never got the fascination with capes.
I think
capes
they look
can
cool.
Look really cool. Some things and some designs do not look right without a cape.
The reason why I'm so dead set on wanting Anakin to have a cape, especially if they were going to go with how Anakin looks in this show to be his look for Revenge of the Sith. Like if they done that, he has a very similar chest plate to what he wears in the Clone Wars, plus the cape. You get the perfect amount of Vader foreshadowing, because in Clone Wars and the Clone Wars, that breastplate he wears at the very beginning of the Clone Wars and he wears at the end of Clone Wars is shaped just like the one that Vader wears. And I think it's
well, it's a good thing you weren't in charge.
Well, no, because it foreshadows it. It foreshadows
it. Does, but then the plate does that, right? And also the plot does that.
The plate and the plot do that, but I think the cape adds to it. And I also think that it shows the way that the Clone War itself slowly creates Darth Vader. Like I was talking to Taylor about this.
I mean, the arm does that quite well, along with the leg.
No, sure, but legs, but I said this to Taylor the other day. Like, one of the things I really love about how Attack of the Clones ends is that the Clone Wars begin quite literally, because George Lucas has never been subtle, with the very beginning of Anakin's humanity being taken away from him. The war begins with Anakin taking his first step to becoming a cyborg.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that as the war goes on, Anakin is dressing more and more as he will be forced to dress the rest of his life. And it shows the way that the war has like nickel and dimed away at his soul.
I get it. There's just some things that are just a little bit too far. It's a little bit too far.
If I were in charge of Star Wars, pretty much every Jedi would have a cape.
Thank God, you know.
Everything would take just a little extra step too far.
It would, yeah.
A lot of the time, it would take a little bit of a step too far towards foreshadowing to Darth Vader.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And don't worry, Volume 2 does plenty of that on its own.
I would say I'm surprised. I'm not. It's Star Wars and it's the Clone Wars. Sorry, it's Clone Wars. No, everything is just leading to that one specific point.
In a very tragic
They weren't
way.
subtle with it here either. No.
That's another thing I wanted to bring up. How'd you feel about the clones before we end here? Because was it kind of a culture shock to go from the clones all having a lot of personality to yes sir, no sir, yes sir, no sir, affirmative.
I wrote that down. That's my one note about the clones is yes general, no general.
That beat is funny.
There's just nothing.
That beat is whenever Anakin's flying through Munilist, and he's like, "That's not one of ours." No, sir. That's Anakin. Yes, sir.
Sorry.
What's he doing here? I don't know, sir. That beat is really funny, but
I say it got a chuckle out of me. I don't think it's necessarily in its favor, but it's just the first line of dialogue a clone has in this show, and it's that. Okay.
I mean, Captain Fordo has a lot to say during the initial siege of Munilist, but a lot of it is General Kenobi. We've disabled the anti-aircraft gun.
I enjoyed the whole action scene with them in the tank on the ground.
Yeah.
Even though it could have been some dialogue in there instead of just the whole that just really took me out. It's the clones talk to each other. What are we doing? But that's
I know, but it's such a dramatic departure from Domino Squad, just Domino Squad. We won't even talk about any of the other clones, but just Fives, Jesse, Rex, Echo, that whole bunch of clones that have hard case that all have so much going on.
Yeah.
Some are more sarcastic. Some take themselves a little too seriously. Rex clearly carries a lot of conflict about well, what happens when this fucking war ends, man? All of them have so much personality. These guys, no, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Okay, let's go.
It's Tartakovsky's going, right, well, stormtroopers don't really talk, so clones can't talk, so we're just going to do this, and that's how we're going to end it. It's fine, I guess. At least the clones got a bit of character afterwards, and a lot more, because the Clone Wars went on for a lot longer, but here, they're just there.
And I think it also speaks volumes, again, with the whole, the Clone Wars was meant to be a continuation of this. That so early on in the Clone Wars, the very first episode is Yoda talking to the clones about you may all share a face, but I can feel you all so differently in the Force. I feel how you care about this and you feel differently about that. And again, and that's immediately followed up with the Plo Koon. We're clones, sir. We're meant to be expendable, not to me. Boom, boom. The first two episodes of the Clone Wars, puts its foot down about the clone troopers are people. and to strip them of that
See,
humanity.
that feels like a reaction to this. Like no one was particularly happy at Lucasfilm how the clones were. It's like, you know what? Let's actually give people a reason to care.
It's one of the through lines of the Clone Wars multimedia project is that like the most development a lot of these clones get were as like battle hardened soldiers, that like some of their only real big emotional beats for the most part, at least from my memory, are clones going, hey, this Jedi general's kind of sick. Cool. Moving on. And that's kind of the beginning and end of a lot of development for these characters. Where like the spotlight is on the clones for so much of its like successor show from very early on. And it's not just like the balls to the wall action that we get from Fordo and the ARC troopers. It's like, no, we're people and our existence is inherently tragic. But yeah, that was one thing I meant to ask you earlier. I forgot about.
I meant to bring it up. I knew I wrote yes, general, no, general down. I couldn't find it. I'm like, move on. But I'm pretty certain I went over everything.
Oh yeah.
I just wrote down because of Anakin doing it twice in like 6 seconds. So,
that's one other thing I want to hit. There's some great Anakin beats throughout this show that I like a lot. Part of it, I think,
if I actually liked the voice actor, Brian, just to completely jump in there, if I actually liked the voice actor, I would agree that Anakin had some good bits in this show. I think because of the way he's voiced in this and the way he acts, I just can't stand Anakin in this.
Well, the thing that I like is that the angrier Anakin gets, the less he acts like himself and the more he starts to like come off as Vader. Because during the initial space battle, like we see him doing things we've seen Anakin do before, namely in Phantom Menace. Like he doesn't say spinning is a good trick, but we watch him do a little maneuver where he takes out multiple droid starfighters by spinning like a crazy person. We
also
see
likes to fly through stuff to get away from something. No.
He flies right into one of those droid or those separatist like gun platforms and blows it up from the inside like he does to the Lucre Hulk. But once he gets into the dogfight with Ventress and he starts to white knuckle the controls a little bit more, he starts quoting Darth Vader. Like whenever he gets right behind Ventress and he like kind of wings her solar sailor, he does the "I have you now." Like, and it's like little bits there.
Got you.
I have you now.
No, it's just I got you.
He says "gotcha" when he hits her, but whenever he's lining her up, he does
yeah,
and it's a shot for shot, just the same way we see Luke, like, or I think it's Biggs, get right into the crosshairs. I have you now, and then he shoots her, and he's like, "I gotcha," and again we get a little bit of that, and Anakin comes back from it a little bit, and like we see him kind of fall into some like Darth Vader-esque stances when he's fighting Ventress on Yavin, and that's another like. Yavin 4 obviously is like where the Death Star is destroyed in New Hope. And like, it's like, there's a slow drip of some of that Darth Vader action. Oh my God, Mitch, shut up.
I went a whole hour and 28 minutes. The recording says, I had to say it at some point. No matter what you say, you're not going to convince me that I didn't think otherwise.
All right, you do the outro because this is actually your show and I'm bad at doing the outro here.
No, this is your outro. This is yours right now.
All right, Mitch, where can the lovely people find you?
You can find me right here and on the link tree and the thing for the blue sky and everything. Instagram, whatever I use, whatever I'm on. It's all right there. Jarod.
Excellent. Yep.
Where? Gamma.
Sorry, I had to text Kaysen's girlfriend back about Christmas stuff. You guys can find me at Dark Jedi 2552 on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And you can find the Nerd Academy podcast wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube and also on all your social media now, including Blue Sky. So get on over there, Nerd Academy podcast. Let's type that in and follow us and subscribe and do all the things. So, yeah.
Go follow the Gundam Quacks stuff. Did you not see me skeeting about that? I hate saying skeeting. That's disgusting. Like posting on Blue Sky about that.
No.
Because Studio Kara who did the rebuild of Evangelion.
Yeah.
And Hideaki Anno, who founded Kara, who did Evangelion.
Yeah.
Is working on a new Gundam series in collaboration with like Bandai and Sunrise, who's always done Gundam. And it's got like the guy who designed the Avas doing all the mech suits, like Arno's co-writing it. So I'm just like freaking the fuck out on Blue and it's called.
So you are posting the way I posted whenever GNX came out.
Yes, yeah. Every time I found something out, I was just like reply, quote tweet, reply. But it's called. I don't even think it's called Gundam. Actually, I think it's just GQ UUUUUUX. And for the last like 24 hours, because it literally came out right as we finished recording the 0 for this little Tartakovsky Clone Wars bit. And people have been trying to figure out how you pronounce it. And I think everyone's landing on quacks. Because apparently it's supposed to be axe, but it's got the G, the Q, and the U's and the X, it's quacks. So we got a gun duck, is basically what I'm saying.
I love gun duck. Hell yeah.
It looks cool as fuck, I'm excited.
Join us next week as we dive into Volume 2 of the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, as we see how the war ends, at least in this version, including the Battle of Coruscant, the knighting of Anakin Skywalker.
See, I wonder how this ends. I'm baffled.
I will tell you, it's very much like the Clone Wars, where this show ends going directly into Revenge of the Sith.
That's exactly what I was expecting. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can't hit me with that one song, though, that we can't play on here anymore because YouTube.
Yeah. Gotta go to all remaining systems for that. But thank you guys so very much for tuning in, and may the Force be with you always.